We've been looking at the centres where disabled people from Merton have to go to be assessed for their personal independence payments. That's the allowance from the government that helps cover the extra costs of disability. There isn't an assessment centre in Merton. Sometimes people have had to go a really long way to places like Vauxhall and even Barking, but they mainly have to go to either Croydon or Wandsworth, so these are the two centres we've had a look at. This is the Croydon Centre. It's not very big, and it's on a back street in central Croydon. They have put these signs on the door, but it doesn't really stand out. Gina travelled to the centre from Mitcham on the tram. Some of the people we spoke to said they found it difficult to find the centre.
It was really hard to find. The sat-nav takes you to the wrong place.
Gina also found it difficult.
We were supposed to get off at Church Road, but we had to get off at East Croydon to change, and we're not sure exactly how to get there because I think we have to double back. So instead, I've got my Google map and we're going to try and get there on wheels, and it does say it's going to take 14 minutes to get there, so it might take a little bit longer, but hopefully we won't get lost. It's nearly 11:15, so it's 1 hour and 45 minutes it's taken us to do this.
Michael came from Mitcham by car. It wasn't too bad, but it can be very busy. Getting parked can be difficult in Croydon too, as it's a busy shopping area. Michael found an accessible parking bay, but it was a fair way up the road, and the pavements were quite difficult on his mobility scooter. There are parking spaces in front of the centre, but none of these are reserved for blue badge holders. The nearest blue badge bay is around 160 metres away across some very difficult pavements. The door to the centre is narrow and probably not wide enough for someone with a big wheelchair or scooter. There is a toilet, but again, it would be very tight for someone using a larger wheelchair or scooter. We weren't allowed to take pictures inside the centre. The waiting area is small, but there would hopefully only ever be 1 or 2 wheelchair or scooter users in there at once, as there's only one interview room on the ground floor, and there isn't a lift for the upstairs rooms. From what we found out, the staff work hard to make sure people know about this before they come, but it does mean people have to wait longer for an assessment if they need the downstairs room. We also noticed that the downstairs interview room isn't very private. If you're sitting in the waiting area by the door to this interview room, you can hear what people are saying. This is the Wandsworth Assessment Centre. Getting there by public transport isn't bad if buses are accessible for you, but it's not great if you need to use the train. Gina couldn't get here as she's not allowed on the bus with her mobility scooter, and it would have taken at least 2 hours to get here by train as there's no step-free station nearby. Michael drove again. This took under half an hour, but Wandsworth can be very busy in the morning and late afternoon. Again, it's near a busy shopping area, so parking can be difficult. There are some accessible parking bays, but you are lucky to get a space, and if you get one, you have to cross a very busy road. There is a crossing a little further up the road, but you have to go into the road to get to it, and the pavement on the other side has been damaged by building work. There is a multi-storey car park opposite the assessment centre, but parking means a long and confusing trek through a shopping centre to get back to the assessment centre. Finding the assessment centre from the street is very difficult. We spoke to a few people who were coming out from their assessments, and they all said it was hard to find their way in from the street.
We had the map, but it was hard to find the centre. We had to keep asking people for directions. The signs are a lot better now, but it's still difficult. Getting here from Wimbledon was easy enough, but finding the centre after I was dropped off was pretty hard.
Ironically, as you search for the PIP centre, you go past a centre run by the Shaw Trust, which helps disabled people with employment. It looks like they've had some bother with people looking for the PIP centre. Facilities and access in the centre seem to be good, with everything on the ground floor, and the people we spoke to said staff were helpful. But getting to the intercom and through the security doors is a little awkward. Having an assessment is a hard experience, so it shouldn't be made worse by having a difficult and stressful journey. So here are a few of our top tips for improving accessibility in the centres. Have parking nearby. Have accessible parking bays, particularly close. Have clear signage, especially from surrounding public transport stops and also in surrounding streets. Assess the surrounding area and report any issues with poor pavements. Ensure that there are automatic entry doors to the centre and good space in the waiting area. Make sure there's specialist seating available for people who need it. And have a fully accessible toilet, ideally a changing places toilet. Have an induction loop at the reception area and in the interview rooms, and have visual fire alarms. And also have soundproofed interview rooms.